All right, welcome to another deep dive. You know, listeners send us so many intriguing sources, and this time we're diving into something really exciting, really relevant, I think, for a lot of people,
Yeah,
building a culture of innovation,
yeah.
especially, how to think about it on a national scale. We've got reports from the government, educational materials, and even case studies of some companies doing some really
That's
uh,
amazing things.
yeah, groundbreaking things.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we're going to try to unpack all of it and figure out, like, what's that secret sauce for fostering, that entrepreneurial, innovative spirit? Where does it come from?
It is fascinating, isn't it? Like,
Mm.
there's a whole ecosystem at play here, and it's
Yeah.
not just big government programs, It
Mhm.
goes all the way down to, like, local councils and even schools.
Yeah. And I have to admit, like, reading through these sources, I was, like, blown away by some of the real world examples. I mean, did you know there are towns out there giving out grants for innovative business ideas? Yeah, we're going to get into some of those. And we'll even talk about a company that, like, completely pivoted during COVID from mining equipment to making ventilators.
Oh, wow.
Talk about adaptability, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a perfect example of what we'll be exploring today, how to cultivate that kind of, like, creative problem solving on a national level and how to turn that into a competitive advantage.
Okay, well, let's jump right in. You sent me the VCE Business Management Study Design, and it
Yes.
outlines these key methods for fostering innovation.
Hmm.
But it's not just like theoretical stuff. We're actually going to see these ideas playing out
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
real life. So, like, what are some of the things they highlight?
Right. So the study design highlights a few key methods, such as government investment in R&D, council grants for new businesses, educational programs, those that focus on entrepreneurship, and also those regional business startup hubs that you just mentioned.
Okay, so it's kind of like a roadmap showing us the potential pathways to like building an innovation nation. But let's get specific.
Yeah.
I mean, the Australian government's role seems huge in all of this. Like they invested something like $11.9 billion in R&D back in 2021. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's a lot of money.
that's not chump change, right?
It's a significant commitment, and it really signals that innovation is a national priority. A lot of that funding actually flows through Industry. You've probably heard of them, but they're kind of like the innovation HQ for the government. They manage programs like the R&D tax incentive, which is specifically designed to encourage businesses to invest in research and development.
So it's not just like handouts. It's about creating
And really,
smart incentives.
yeah,
And that seems to be working, right?
yeah,
We have this example of Drone Shield. They're an Australian-US company, and they actually moved some of their operations to Australia, partly because of this R&D tax incentive.
that's a big win, attracting these international players.
Mm.
And it really shows how these incentives can, yeah, potentially turn Australia into a hub for specific industries.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, though, like what else is needed to make Australia a true global innovation leader, right?
That's a great question.
It can't just be about one tax break.
Exactly.
So what else does Industry do to support businesses?
So they have a few other tricks up their sleeve. There's the Entrepreneurs Program, which is a bit of a one-stop shop for businesses looking to, commercialize new ideas. They offer advice, support, and even grants. And then there's the Cooperative Research Center Program, or CRC. It's all about uh, connecting businesses with research institutions.
Ah, so like bridging that gap between the bright ideas and the real world applications.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm all about seeing things in action.
Sure.
Let's talk about Endua. They're a Brisbane-based company, and they're making some waves in the clean energy space, specifically with these hydrogen-powered solutions.
Yeah, they're doing some amazing things.
What's their story?
So Endua is a fantastic example of how government funding can directly translate into cutting-edge innovation. So they actually received a grant through the Accelerating Commercialization Grant Program, which is a part of that Industry Entrepreneurs Program we were just talking about.
It was like almost $1 million, right? That's
Yeah.
serious funding.
It is?
What are they doing with it?
So they're developing modular power banks that use hydrogen to generate electricity up to 150 kilowatts. It's very, very cool technology with the potential to provide clean, reliable power in all sorts of settings.
Okay, color me impressed. But what I think is really interesting is that they're not going it alone. Like, they've partnered with CSIRO, Australia's science agency, and Ampol, which is a huge energy company, right?
Exactly. It really highlights the power of collaboration, right?
Yeah.
You have the scientific expertise of CSIRO, the market reach of Ampol, and the innovative drive of Endu. It's a really powerful recipe for success.
Yeah, it definitely paints a picture of like a supportive ecosystem.
Yeah.
But it's not just a federal government story, is it? I mean, state governments are stepping up to the plate as well.
Oh, absolutely. Victoria, for example, is making significant investments in research and innovation. They've established the Breakthrough Victoria Fund, which is a whopping $2 billion initiative to support groundbreaking research and commercialization.
2 billion.
Yeah,
Wow, Victoria clearly means business when it comes to fostering innovation.
absolutely. They also have programs like the R&D Cash Flow Loan Program, which helps smaller businesses manage the costs of research and development. It recognizes that financial constraints can be a major hurdle for smaller players, so
Yeah.
it's a very targeted way to ensure they're not left behind.
So it's like a multi-layered approach, support at different levels of government, each with their own kind of focus. Speaking of Victoria, we came across this company called Gecko in the research. They were doing really cool things in mining technology, but then COVID hit,
Right.
and they kind of had to.
Well, they pivoted on a dime. They used their expertise to develop and manufacture ventilators, the Gecko. Talk about a company that can adapt and innovate in the face of a crisis.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that the Victorian government actively supported this pivot.
Right. They provided funding and even launched this program to help other mining tech companies kind of adapt their skills and resources
Yeah.
to meet the demands of the pandemic.
Yeah,
It's kind of proof that government can be this catalyst
absolutely.
for innovation, even in really unexpected circumstances.
It really is a testament to that idea that fostering innovation isn't just about funding research in a lab. It's about creating an environment where businesses can be nimble, responsive, and ready to seize opportunities even when facing challenges.
So we've got federal and state governments playing their part, but what about the local level?
Right.
What role do councils play in this whole innovation ecosystem?
Local councils are often overlooked, but they play a crucial role, especially when it comes to supporting hyperlocal innovation. They have a very, very deep understanding of the specific needs and challenges of their communities.
And that local knowledge can be, like, invaluable, right?
Yeah,
Can you give me an example of a council that's doing this well?
sure. The city of Melbourne is a great example. They actually have a small business grants program that specifically targets businesses that are innovative, creative, and sustainable. They want to see businesses that not only generate profits, but also contribute to the well-being of the community.
So it's like a holistic approach to fostering innovation. It's not just about economic growth. It's about creating a more, vibrant and sustainable city.
Exactly. And the city of Melbourne has some inspiring success stories to show for it.
Oh, do tell. What kind of businesses are they supporting?
Well, one example is the Perpetual People Co. They received a grant to launch an innovative gardening and sports program for people with disabilities. So it's not just about creating jobs or generating revenue, it's about empowering people and building a more inclusive community.
That's fantastic. It shows that innovation can be a force for good, like addressing social needs and creating positive change. Do they have any other examples?
Yeah, another great example is Age Up. They're a company that developed an online platform to provide aged care services. Their goal is to help people live their best lives at home, and they're using technology to make that possible.
So they're addressing a growing societal need, that aging population, and using technology to improve people's quality of life. It's a brilliant example of how innovation can solve real-world problems.
Absolutely. And the fact that they received a grant from the City of Melbourne shows that councils are recognizing the value of these innovative solutions.
Yeah.
They're not just looking for businesses that can make money, they're looking for businesses that can make a difference.
Okay, so we've covered government support, at all levels, but something tells me this whole innovation thing goes, like, way deeper than that.
Yeah.
What about education?
You're absolutely right. Education plays a crucial role in fostering that culture of innovation. It's not just about teaching traditional business concepts, it's about instilling an entrepreneurial mindset from a young age.
So, like, planting the seeds of innovation early on?
Exactly.
I like that. Are there any programs that are doing this particularly well?
There are some great initiatives out there. One that stands out is $20 Boss.
Wait, they give kids $20 and tell them to start a business?
Exactly. It's a brilliant way to introduce young people to the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, budgeting, marketing, customer service, all in a fun and engaging way.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's a great way to make learning come alive, right?
exactly.
It's not just about the money, it's about developing those essential skills and that entrepreneurial spirit. What other programs are out there?
Well, the Victorian Commercial Teachers Association, they run the Plan Your Own Enterprise competition. So it challenges students to develop a full-fledged business plan and pitch their ideas. It's a great way to encourage creative thinking, problem solving, and collaboration.
So it's like Shark Tank for high schoolers.
Exactly. And then you have ABW Enterprise Education.
Yeah.
They're a nonprofit that runs these incredibly realistic business simulations for schools. So students get to experience the complexities of running a virtual business. Making decisions, managing resources, dealing with those unexpected challenges. It's a very powerful way to learn by doing.
Yeah, it sounds like these programs are giving students a real taste of what it's like to be an entrepreneur and hopefully inspiring a whole new generation of innovators. But even with a solid education, I imagine, like starting a business, especially outside of major cities, can be pretty daunting, right?
You're right. That's where those regional business startup hubs that we talked about earlier really come into play. They provide a crucial lifeline for aspiring entrepreneurs in areas where resources might be limited.
So creating those all-important support networks.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit more about what these hubs offer.
Sure. A great example is the Small Business Centers Victoria Network. They have centers all across the state, both in metro and regional areas, offering subsidized office space, expert advice, workshops, and even networking opportunities.
So it's like a one-stop shop for everything a budding entrepreneur needs to get their business off the ground.
Exactly. And many of these centers are part of Business Enterprise Centers Australia, which is a national network that provides similar support across the country. It's about creating a sense of community and ensuring that entrepreneurs, no matter where they are, have access to the resources and guidance they need to succeed.
It sounds like these hubs are playing a vital role in leveling the playing field
Absolutely.
and ensuring that innovation isn't just concentrated in major cities.
And then we have other organizations like Workspace Australia and Inuvik, which are specifically focused on supporting innovators and entrepreneurs. So Workspace Australia provides affordable office space and support services, while Inuvik offers seminars, resources, and guidance to help people turn their ideas into viable businesses.
So it's like a whole ecosystem of support for regional innovators with different players offering different types of assistance.
Precisely.
Right.
And it highlights the fact that fostering a culture of innovation is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires a multifaceted strategy that addresses the specific needs and challenges of different regions and communities.
Yeah, it's clear that creating a culture of business innovation and entrepreneurship in Australia is a complex endeavor. But, I mean, it's exciting to see all the pieces of the puzzle coming together, right? We've got government support at all levels, educational programs that are, igniting those entrepreneurial sparks, and community initiatives that are fostering that spirit of collaboration and innovation.
It's a truly collaborative effort. It's inspiring to see so many people working together to create a brighter future.
This has been incredibly insightful, but before we get too carried away, I think it's time to kind of shift gears a bit. We've explored the what, all these amazing initiatives and programs, but I think our listeners are also curious about the how.
Right.
How do we ensure that all of this actually works?
Yeah.
Are there any challenges we need to be aware of?
That's a great question. And the answer is, of course, yes. Fostering innovation is not without its hurdles. But that's a conversation for part 2 of our deep dive. We'll delve into some of the challenges and opportunities in fostering innovation, and we'll even get into some fascinating examples from around the world.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. We just explored this incredible web of support for innovation in Australia.
Yeah.
From government initiatives to those amazing school programs.
It is impressive.
It's really impressive, but I imagine it's not always smooth sailing. What are some of the challenges in making all of this work?
Well, you're right. It's not always easy. One challenge is just the sheer complexity of coordinating all these different programs and initiatives. We have federal agencies, state governments, local councils, private organizations. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I imagine it's like conducting an orchestra.
Yeah.
You need someone to make sure that everyone's playing in harmony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And without effective coordination, efforts can be duplicated, resources can be wasted, and the overall impact can be diluted.
Right.
Another challenge is just keeping pace with change. The world of technology and innovation moves so fast, And, government policies and programs can sometimes feel a bit slow to adapt.
Yeah, so it's like a tech startup. Like the government needs to be constantly iterating, testing, and improving, right?
Precisely. They need to be agile and responsive, constantly evaluating what's working, what's not, and adjusting their approach accordingly.
That makes sense. But I think, one of the biggest challenges, at least from what I've observed, is fostering a culture that truly embraces risk-taking
Yeah.
and sees failure as a learning opportunity.
You've hit the nail on the head. Innovation is inherently uncertain, right?
Mm.
You're trying to create something new, something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
And that means there's always a chance of failure. But we need to shift our mindset and see failure not as a setback, but as valuable feedback.
It's about learning from those mistakes, iterating, and coming back stronger.
Exactly. And that's where education comes in. If we can instill that growth mindset in our students, teach them to embrace challenges and view setbacks as opportunities for learning, then we're really setting the stage for a more innovative future.
And I think those educational programs that we talked about earlier, like $20 Boss and the business plan competitions, are doing a great job of that. They're giving young people that hands-on experience, allowing them to experiment, take risks, and yeah, even fail, but in a safe and supportive environment.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, some of the most successful innovators in history have embraced failure as part of the process. Think about Thomas Edison. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
It's a great reminder that the path to innovation is rarely a straight line. It's about embracing those detours, learning from those bumps in the road, and constantly iterating.
Precisely. But despite these challenges, there are also immense opportunities.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting is the potential for innovation to address some of the world's most pressing problems.
That's what gets me really fired up, using innovation to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how that's playing out.
Well, take climate change, for example.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest challenges we face as a global society. And Australia, with its abundant solar and wind resources, is really well positioned to be a leader in renewable energy innovation.
We already talked about Endu and their work on hydrogen-powered energy. That's a great example of how Australian companies are pushing the boundaries of clean technology.
Absolutely. And it's not just about mitigating the negative impacts of climate change. It's also about creating new industries, new jobs, and a more sustainable economy.
So it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
We get to protect the planet and create economic opportunities at the same time.
Exactly. And then there's the field of biotechnology. Australian companies are making incredible strides in areas like gene editing and personalized medicine.
Now, this is an area I find absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
What kind of breakthroughs are we talking about?
Well, imagine treatments that are tailored to your specific genetic makeup, or therapies that can target and eliminate diseases at their root. These innovations have the potential to completely revolutionize healthcare and improve the lives of millions of people.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities, right? And it highlights the fact that innovation isn't just about, creating cool gadgets. It's about solving real-world problems and making a tangible difference in people's lives.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the economic benefits. A thriving culture of innovation leads to new businesses, new industries, and new job creation. It really drives economic growth and prosperity.
So it's like a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
Innovation breeds economic growth, which in turn fuels more innovation.
Exactly. Now, to really grasp the power of fostering innovation, I think it's helpful to look at examples from around the world. What are other countries doing? What can we learn from their successes?
Oh, I love a good international comparison. So which countries are leading the pack when it comes to innovation?
Well, traditionally, the United States has been seen as the global leader in innovation. They invest heavily in research and development. They have a strong culture of entrepreneurship and a robust system for protecting intellectual property.
So it's like they've created the ideal ecosystem for innovation to flourish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in recent years, other countries have really emerged as innovation powerhouses. Countries like South Korea, Singapore, and Israel.
What's their secret sauce? What are they doing differently?
Well, one common thread is a strong focus on education and skills development. They recognize that a highly skilled workforce is essential for driving innovation. They also tend to be very agile and adaptable, quick to embrace new technologies and trends.
So it's not just about having like brilliant minds. It's about creating an environment
Right.
where those minds can thrive and turn their ideas into reality.
Absolutely. And many of these countries have a culture of collaboration. They encourage partnerships between businesses, universities, and research institutions. They recognize that innovation often happens at the intersection of different disciplines.
It's about breaking down those silos and
Yeah,
fostering a spirit of cross-pollination.
exactly. And it's not just about collaboration within a country. Many of these innovation leaders are also actively engaging in international partnerships.
So it's like a global network of innovators all working together
Yeah.
to tackle the world's biggest challenges.
Precisely. And it highlights the fact that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to fostering innovation. Different countries have different strengths and weaknesses, and they need to find the strategies that work best for them.
Right, there's no magic formula, but it's clear that certain ingredients are essential, like investment in R&D, a strong education system, a culture that embraces collaboration and risk-taking, and a government that's willing to be agile and responsive.
Absolutely. And as we continue this exploration, I think it's important to keep in mind that innovation is not just a goal in itself. It's a means to an end. It's about using our creativity and ingenuity to solve problems, improve our lives, and create a better future for everyone.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Now, before we move on to part 3, I want to hear from you, our listener. What aspect of this conversation has resonated with you the most? What are your local councils doing to foster innovation in your community? And if you had the power to design a program to boost innovation, what would be your top priority? I mean, those international examples they're really inspiring, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing to see how different countries are kind of tackling this challenge and what we can learn from their successes and maybe even their failures too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a global race, really, and the countries that are prioritizing innovation are the ones that are going to thrive in the years to come.
Absolutely. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I wanna kind of bring it back to the practical.
Yeah.
Like if our listeners sitting there thinking, okay, this is all great, but what can I actually do to foster innovation? What would be your advice?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And there's no single answer, but I think it starts with understanding that fostering innovation is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time project or a checklist you can tick off.
Okay.
It's really about cultivating a mindset, a culture that embraces creativity, risk-taking, and continuous learning.
So it's like tending a garden, right? You need to constantly nurture it, you
Yeah.
know, weed out what's not working and create the right conditions for growth.
That's a perfect analogy.
Mhm.
And I think one of the most important things individuals can do is simply stay curious. Keep learning, keep exploring, keep asking questions. The more you expose yourself to new ideas and new perspectives, the more likely you are to spark those aha moments that lead to innovation.
Yeah, it's about feeding that intellectual hunger. And I think it's also important to connect with others who
Yeah.
share that passion for innovation.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with the people who inspire you, who challenge you, and who support your creative endeavors, whether it's, joining a local makerspace, attending industry events, or even just having coffee with fellow entrepreneurs. Those connections can be incredibly valuable.
It's all about building that community, that ecosystem of support.
Yeah.
And speaking of support, I think it's important to acknowledge the role of government in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. Government plays a crucial role in creating those conditions for innovation to flourish. And, we've talked about some of the key levers: investment in research and development, tax incentives, funding for startups, and of course, education.
But beyond those kind of big picture policies, what can governments do to really foster that entrepreneurial spirit, to really encourage people to take those risks and try new things?
Well, one thing they can do is streamline regulations and reduce red tape, particularly for, small businesses and startups. Sometimes those bureaucratic hurdles can be a real barrier to innovation.
Yeah, I imagine it's like trying to run a marathon with weights tied to your ankles.
Yeah.
You might have all the energy and drive in the world, but those obstacles can really slow you down.
Governments can also play a role in facilitating connections and collaborations. They can host industry events, create platforms for networking, and connect entrepreneurs with mentors and investors.
So it's about acting as a catalyst,
Yeah.
like bringing the right people together and creating those sparks of innovation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about connecting businesses with each other. It's also about fostering those crucial links between businesses, universities, and research institutions.
Right. So bridging that gap
Yeah.
between like the world of ideas and
Exactly.
the world of like practical application.
Exactly. I think one final thought for our listeners is this. Innovation is not just about creating new products or technologies. It's also about finding new ways to do things, new ways to solve problems, new ways to improve our lives.
It's about challenging the status quo, right? And thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we can all do regardless of our job title or our area of expertise.
Absolutely. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a policy wonk, a student, or just a curious citizen, remember this. You have the power to be an innovator.
That's a great message to end on.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that innovative spirit alive.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one spearheading the next big breakthrough.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.